This is why I believe that Robert Thomas will be the captain of the St. Louis Blues.
Hi, I'm Robert Thomas, and this is Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our Blues. On today's episode, I want to talk to you about why I believe RT18 will be wearing the C next season. I want to talk about Jordan Kyrou's season a little bit because I have not been impressed. And then this team is heading in a younger direction, and there's a lot of upside to that. I do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. I hope first and foremost everybody is having a happy Thursday, March 19th. A little bit of a disclaimer before I begin today's episode. I've been battling with a really bad sore throat. So at any point, if you just don't think it sounds how I usually sound, just know that I took a lot of medicine to be able to film today's episode. So I am trying my absolute best. But let's go talk about Robert Thomas because there's a lot of people that, for whatever reason, are so focused on Jake Neighbors potentially being the future captain. And it just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like with Robert Thomas, the number one thing that does not go in his favor is his personality. A lot of people are quick to say, he doesn't have a big personality, he doesn't have a strong personality, therefore he can't be captain. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. Robert Thomas is the best player on the team besides Jordan Binnington. And mind you, the Blues weren't necessarily trying to trade Robert Thomas. I believe that he came out himself and said that, they didn't ask him to waive, his no trade clause. So if they wanted to move him, they would have moved him. Do you want to know why? Because they asked Braden Shen twice. And they asked Pareko. You get what I'm saying? So it's like clearly they weren't focusing on moving Robert Thomas. They had a very aggressive they had it in a sense where it's like this. Let me put it this way. The reason why they had such an aggressive return for anything revolving a Robert Thomas trade was because they did not want to lose him. But if you're going to get an absolute steal of a deal back, then yeah, but no team was going to do that. And for me, Robert Thomas is going to be on the St. Louis Blues for a very, very long time. I mean, his contract is interesting, right? Because it's going to end in 2031. And I know what you're probably thinking, Haley, that is a long time. And yes, it is. And that is why I think it's more sustainable to have a guy like a Robert Thomas because Jake Neighbors, I mean, who's to say that one day he won't, right? I think that we can all agree that it could happen one day for Jake Neighbors, and I would love to see that for Jake Neighbors. I just don't feel like right now would be the right time. Doug Armstrong came out and said that they're not going to name a captain for the remainder of the season, which I completely agree with. You only have like 15, 14 games left. I don't think it's necessary to do that. But what I do think is necessary is to talk about why Robert Thomas would be the good choice. You see, you could make an argument for Colton Pareko, and that's something that I have said here on this podcast that with Pareko, while yes, the Blues did try to move him, he made it very clear that he wants to be a Blue forever. And I feel like that also kind of goes a long way in the sense of his love and his respect of the Blue Note and the city of St. Louis. So you could make an argument there, right? But for me, I feel like the captain should be the best player on the team. And if you were to say who is the best player on the St. Louis Blues, you would probably think Jordan Binnington, but goalies can't be captains. So therefore, the best skater on the team, you would have to go with Robert Thomas. And I don't think it's going to be a decision that's going to surprise many people. I think that it's really just between Pareko and Tomer. I think that Neighbors, while it could happen for him one day, it just wouldn't make sense right now. And I feel like Robert Thomas is who this team is going to build around. I think it's really easy to lose focus or to lose sight of how talented of a skater RT18 is. I mean, he is a playmaker and he is able to make the guys next to him on his lines look incredible. I mean, this kid is a natural 1C. And there's so many people that make the argument that, he shouldn't be the 1C, he should be the 2C. You do realize that he was dealing with a lot of injuries like this season. I mean, I feel like people expect him to be like this perfect, indestructible player, but that's just not the reality. Players sometimes they go through phases, they go through injuries, and it is what it is. But with RT18, I just feel like he's still, by a long shot, is a better player than anybody else on the team. And it's not even just me saying it, it's not even just the statistics saying it. It's the national media, right? And for them, they're unbiased. They're not fans of the Blues. The national media is able to watch a guy like Robert Thomas and to highlight how good of a player he is. And you might be wondering, if Robert Thomas was such a good player, why didn't he make Team Canada for the Olympics? Because, again, that is the other argument that I am hearing from people. He was invited this summer to one of the, I believe, like Olympic skates this past summer, 2025. He was dealing with an injury and therefore he didn't end up making Team Canada. It sucks, but I feel like in the next Winter Olympics, we'll see him on Team Canada. I mean, I feel like he's dealt with the injury bug quite a bit. And I'm not making excuses because, again, I know that maybe this season hasn't been the best season for him. I mean, he had two 80-point seasons. He's not going to most likely get that. But I think we can all agree that he is a true and true hockey player. He puts it all out there on the ice. And it's really hard to justify why anybody else should be captain over him. The only other person, as I mentioned to you, was Colton Parayko. Another guy, he was drafted here in 2012, and he clearly loves the city. He clearly loves the Blue Note. And there is a part of me that's like, you know what? Maybe he deserves it. But I feel like, and again, I loved former captain Braden Shen, but we can all agree that he wasn't one of the best skaters, but he had a heart of gold. And I think that with a captain, you don't always have to be the best skater, but you have to have something really special about you. Braden had that. And do I know if Parayko does? I don't know. I mean, Parayko, I can't say what his personality is like. I don't know, because Braden was so vocal. He did a lot for the community. And I know that Parayko does that as well. But I feel like Braden, it was just a different type of vibe. And it just would be really difficult to say, well, Parayko deserves the captaincy over Robert Thomas. And for Robert Thomas, I feel like this would be his destiny in a way. I always said it too here on the podcast that if Braden was to ever leave, retire, get traded, whatever you name it, the next captain of the St. Louis Blues would be Robert Thomas. And I'm a little bit biased towards Robert Thomas, as we all know by now. And by a little, I'm very biased. I, again, have a Tomer custom sweater. He does the intro to the show now. My Twitter bio says it's Robert Thomas season. But isn't that what a captain should be? Isn't the captain a representation of the team as a whole? And it is quite interesting, right? That when people look at the St. Louis Blues, because I'm telling you, it's the national media. I see this all the time on NHL Network. I see it all the time. And they talk about the best players on the teams, and the Blues get mentioned. Robert Thomas always gets talked about. So it just would make sense. I believe the kid is 26 now, so he's not young where he doesn't have that experience. I mean, he's been wearing the A nail for a few seasons. He has what it takes to be captain. He is well respected in the locker room. And most importantly, when it comes to Robert Thomas, and I think that this is one thing that we need to keep in mind, he is somebody that's going to be on the ice for a lot of time because, again, he is your 1C. He's on the power play. You get what I'm saying? So wouldn't it just make sense to give him the captaincy? It's kind of like logic, but again, We'll see. Okay, so coming up, I want to talk to you about Jordan Kyer because it's been disappointing for me, for you, and probably for him too. Um, so we're going to talk about that right after this. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill is still sitting open when the pressure's on and you need the right hire. This is the job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. I also want to tell you about the Everydayer Club because it is something that I love and I know a bunch of you love as well because you get that ad-free audio of Locked On Blues. You also get invited to an exclusive Discord where you can chat amongst each other all things blues. And I personally never used Discord before this, so I was a little bit apprehensive on what it would entail, but it is actually so much easier than I thought. So if you just want to check it out and see what it's about, try it for a month and let me know if you like it. But I hope to see you there. Again, that is lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. One thing about this season that has been so frustrating for me has been Jordan Kyrou. I am always going to be a Kyrou defender. I feel like he always gets a bad rep for whatever the reason is. I mean, I feel like he can't do anything right to please the public, but I always, as I said, will defend Kyrou. This season, though, it really hasn't been the best in the 58 games played with 15 goals, 20 assists. 35 points total, but he's also -9 on the season. It's not great. I'm truly not blown away at all. I mean, last year he had a 70-point season. The year prior he had a 67-point season. I mean, last year, by the way, he was plus 23. This season, too, he also fell back, shaving some ice time with about 15 minutes and 55 seconds, which is some of the lowest that he's ever played. We're going to be dating ourselves all the way back to 2020, where he would play about 14 minutes and 25 seconds per game. It gets worse. You might be saying, does it get worse? Yeah. Because even his shooting percentage, I mean, how many shots he has on goal, not good. Like, none of it is good. He's only 10%, by the way, with his shots on goal. So again, not great. His face-off percentage is not good, 21%. Again, that is the lowest that he's ever had. So I am concerned about Kyrou, and it's the turnovers, it's the lack of positioning. And I highlighted those statistics for you so you could see that when I'm talking about this, it's not like I'm making it up. These are statistics. These are what's going on. And again, it is an off season for the team as a whole. But isn't it quite interesting, though, how much he has digressed this season? He's been so invisible in some games, and it just makes me question what is going on with him. And I think the most concerning part about this, it's not the fact that he doesn't have a lot of points. It's not the fact that the stats aren't great. It's literally the fact that nobody is talking about this. Like, everybody just ignored what's going on with Kyrou. And for me, I do find it very concerning. I mean, it is not good. It is not good. And I think for Kyrie too, and one of the things I really like about his style of play is that he has so much speed. He's so creative. And I feel like I have yet to really see that this season from him. And Kyrie is one of those players where I truly believe he is more talented than he leads on to. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that he skates, right? When he was playing even last season, it just was a different type of style. I don't want to say that he plays scared this season, but it's definitely a little bit more timid. Last season, he was able to find better positioning even. Like and the way that I'm trying to describe it to you, it's not that I think that he's digressed to the point where it can't be fixed. I think it can be, but I just don't understand some of what he isn't doing, which is the positioning aspect, which again, I understand the lack of goals. I understand the lack of points, but even just his positioning on the ice, that's where I'm struggling because you can't justify that in a sense. I like Jordan Kyrou, and I know a lot of people wanted to actually have him traded during the deadline. And I still think that he is a vital part to this team and this organization. It also makes me wonder, hey, is Monty's coaching style the right fit for him? But then I have to remind myself that last season when Monty came in, he was still playing really well. So I feel like that's an excuse that we can't use. I think that sometimes it's trying to justify and trying to understand why certain players have digressed. So we look for other reasonings. But I think when it comes to Jordan Kyrou, I think the number one reason is plain and simple. He's just not having a good season. And there's so many players that just have bad seasons. And again, in a game like hockey, that's very normal, but he just doesn't look like the same player that I have watched previously. And when I spoke to Kyrou at the beginning of the season, beginning ish, yeah, November's like beginning ish, yeah, you know, he was very optimistic about the season. And it is quite interesting with what's gone on with the Blues to how that has impacted individual players. Because again, when you're a team that is amongst some of the worst in the NHL, I'm sure that it does take a toll mentally on these guys. I mean, hockey's such a mental game, besides physical, obviously. So it just makes me question mentally how is he doing with this. And again, he just might be in his head. I don't know, but watching some of the last few games, even in that game last night against Calgary, I was very disappointed. Oh, by the way, last night's game, um, a little bit of a detour, but the, they had 3 goals overturned. Calgary did, and the Blues still managed to lose. I have never seen that before. Like, this is what I'm saying. The Blues will always find a way to lose. And I told you this was going to happen. No matter what happens in life, there's 2 things that will be true. Number 1, the Blues will somehow beat the better teams. Number 2, the Blues will lose to the teams below them. It happens every single time. Do I know why? No. 2, because I was watching, right? Obviously. And before the game even began, I was saying to somebody that I don't think they're going to win tonight. And as I was watching, I was like, you know what? All these goals being overturned, you know what? Maybe somehow, somewhere, the hockey gods are looking down on this game and they're going to give a Blues a win over a team that's worse than them. Well, that didn't end up happening, and the Flames won. Now, the good news is for the Blues, that's, again, Flames take 2 points. That's fine. I'm so focused on the draft that I think for me, I'm just like so like what's a good word to say? Uh, I'm just very neutral when it comes to the rest of the season. And one of the big factors when it comes to the St. Louis Blues this season has been the impressive playing from I don't know if I even like, made a sentence like that. Listen, my friends, Haley is sick. So I don't know if words sound right, but it has been the impressive playmaking from some of the younger guys on the team, and I want to talk to you about them. And I will talk to you about them, but I'm going to talk to you about them right after this. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go to app for scoring tickets fast, without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. One thing that I love about Game Time is the all in pricing up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. You're also able to see the seat before you make any purchase, so you know exactly where you're going to be sitting. And the best part is you get great last minute options too, with NBA tickets showing up at a solid price. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That's code Locked On for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember it's gametime.co, not .com. One of the big highlights for me this season has been the younger guys on the team. I'm talking about Snuggie, I'm talking about Otto, I'm talking about Dvorsky, and the list goes on, right? I'm even going to mention a Holloway, a Broberg, the actual improvement that I've seen from Logan Mayu, Joel Hofer. There has been a lot of improvements this season. I think the way that the Blues are kind of heading is an exciting chapter that we all get to witness because they're treading towards being a younger team. And finally, we're going to be able to see some speedy hockey. One of the things that has annoyed me in the past few seasons watching the Blues has been sometimes how slow they look. And when you get these young players, I mean, they can skate wicked fast, and it's so cool to see. And I feel like that's what we see with some of the younger teams in the league, like the Sharks now, like Anaheim, and just some of these teams that have a lot of young talent. That's what we see. We see this speediness come back into play. So I am excited for that. I think the direction that the Blues are heading in is going to be a team built around Robert Thomas, and it makes sense. And it's going to be a team that's going to utilize the youth, which again makes me wonder what's going to happen with Bennington in the offseason, just because one, I really like Bennington, but are they going to try to go in this younger direction and have Hofer be the starting goalie? Probably not. But again, that is something that did come to my mind is if they're trying to get younger, in which ways are they trying to get younger? I also think too, it was really smart during the trade deadline that they didn't really trade for anybody too old. I think that the trades that they made and the returns that they got, fine, I'm okay with it. But it's not like they went out there for an older veteran player hoping that he might have 1 year left on his contract and they would be able to re-sign him. You get what I'm saying? Like they didn't do anything that would have messed up this youth movement. And I think for the Blues that is a very beneficial situation. There's certain hockey teams like Tampa Bay who got Corey Perry back. And he's almost 40, and at some point you're going to have to hang up the skates, but I mean, he can still play. But I would rather my team, who is not going to be a playoff team, get younger, get draft picks, and get some of these skaters, man, that are going to make this team a lot faster. I'd rather have that than try to work the magic and have a team somehow make it to the playoffs next season and then never go back for the next couple seasons. Um it's interesting because I do feel like there is a part of me that's like, "Oh, well, we do need veteran presence." And then I have to remind myself that Robert Thomas is 26. Jake Neighbors is 23, which is still young, but still. Cairo, I believe, is around 26, 25. He's around the same age. So you do have players in their mid to late 20s that are going to be those veterans, but I don't think it's really necessary to get a guy in his early to mid 30s when you already have guys that have been wearing the blue note for a very long time who's had experience. I mean, Tomer won a cup. Like, we need to remind ourselves that he was a rookie this season, that the Blues won Lord Stanley. So you still have that, but again, I like that we're having this youth movement, and I think that it's going to be beneficial for the Blues, not even just for next season, but for years to come. And that makes me very excited and very optimistic. All right. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Hopefully my voice sounds a lot better and it doesn't sound as like nasally, and for me it feels really painful actually to talk. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and like always, let's go Blues.